Hey everybody, welcome to Bill Sky, the database guy. And what we're going to do today is we're going to get DB2, IBM's DB2 Relational Database Management System installed and actually working all in a single video. Now I'm going to assume that you've already set up a VMware guest operating system Linux, either Oracle Linux, Red Hat Linux, CentOS Linux, even Fedora Linux. Now I haven't tested it on Fedora, but since it's a Red Hat product or it's a Red Hat offshoot, there's another one called Rocky Linux. Anything that's at version 8. I think DB2 actually installs on version 9 as well, which is what we're looking at here, I believe. Oh, no, this is Linux 8, and that's behind me. So we're going to get all that set up. I'm going to show you how to download things. The reason we're going to do this all in one video instead of multiple is that IBM makes the installation of DB2 a lot easier than Oracle in my experience, which is actually kind of surprising because IBM has a tendency of making things very difficult to install. So this actually is a pretty painless. The most painful part of this whole process is installing or actually getting a user ID and downloading the product. So I'm going to put a link in the description of this video that you can click on and grab the products yourself. Now you can do this on Windows if you want. However, IBM, Oracle, all the database manufacturers recommend that you use Linux because Linux is a much better server operating system than Windows, arguably. Okay, I don't want to get anybody mad at me, but we're going to stick with Linux because it happens to be the industry standard for this type of server. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my Oracle Linux sitting right here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the browser and I will put these URLs in the notes or in the description of this video. And we're going to go to www.ibm.com products DB2 database. Now, you've got a number of different things you can do. I'm going to click on the download IBM. Now, go ahead and accept. You're on a virtual machine, who cares? And I'm going to download DB2 Community. Now, I believe it's going to ask me to log in. So you can see right here, there's if you do not have an ID, you can create one right here by putting in your email. They don't send you marketing materials. I've never seen a problem with this, but it's kind of like they want to keep track of who's downloading the Community Edition, and a lot of manufacturers or a lot of companies are doing that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you have a LinkedIn ID, you can go ahead and do that. I don't like LinkedIn. I don't like, having a common login from all these different locations because they can see everything you're doing. So I like to create my own login ID. And I'm going to go ahead and log in here. And I'm going to blur these out because I don't want you to know who I am. They all seem to, everybody seems, at least in the database realm, everybody seems to be we want to make it as difficult as possible. So what it's going to do now is it's going to ask you to email a code to you. So I'm going to click send code. And then I'm not going to show it to you, but I'm going to go over here to my email program. And they show you the first four numbers of the code. And then you put in the last 6 and then click verify. And I don't want them to, so I'm going to say no on the contact. I'm going to turn off telephone, click continue. And here you go. So if you want to install it for Windows, there you go. If you want to install it for Linux, there you go as well. These other ones are IBM Linux versions. You're probably not going to want to deal with that unless, of course, you're actually working at a company that uses these. Like the college that I used to work at, they used IBM AIX. So I'm just going to click on the Linux one. You could download either one or both. It doesn't matter. And go ahead and let that download complete. Now, now I already have it downloaded, so I'm not going to go ahead and download everything, but you will see it in my download folder when we get into the installation portion. Now let's go to there's another thing that you want to download, and that's the IBM Data Studio. And again, I will put this URL into the description of this video. And you want to, now what the Data Studio is, it's a graphical user interface for DB2, and it's based on Eclipse. It's a really nice tool. And I'm going to scroll down to download and install the Data Studio client. Now, if you're already logged in to the IBM website because you downloaded DB2, this is going to be relatively simple. So I'm going to come down here and click on the full Data Studio product images. And this website is notoriously slow. It's notoriously wait. We'll be redirected shortly as soon as we get our act together. I'm not really sure what they're doing. Now, about a month ago, none of this worked, and I contacted IBM, complained. I'm a retired IBM employee. I complained, I escalated it, and things seemed to begin to work. Now, I'm not saying I'm the one that had anything to do with this, but it's nice to think it. So I'm going to go ahead and agree to this and say I confirm. And then I'm just going to come down here. You can download the Linux version or you can download the Windows version. Now, if you're on Windows and you want to connect to your Linux DB2 server, download that too, right? It actually would be very useful. So go ahead and just download, click download, and you should see your download beginning. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to wait for those to finish downloading, and then we're going to do the installation. All right, so my downloads are all complete. I'm going to go ahead and end this other one I was doing, and I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now I'm going to go up to Activities, Files, and I'm going to go to Downloads. Now I put my downloads in folders here. But this brings up a good question. Can I have Oracle and DB2 both installed on the same system? The answer is absolutely yes. You can have both of them installed on the same system. They both use different IP ports, so don't worry about it. You can have them both installed. Now, depending upon how much work you're doing, they might slow the virtual machine down a little bit. Not really though, because you're doing development stuff. It's not really going to hurt very much. So I'm going to go into DB2, and there's a lot of stuff here because I downloaded a lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the things that I don't really need just to keep this simpler. And let's see, I don't really need this. Okay, so I've got some setup notes here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to install the server. Now, here's the Windows one. I don't need that either. So this right here is the Data Studio. And IBM is they're very notorious for this, of creating file names that mean almost absolutely nothing to the consumer or the individual. So you kind of have to, you can rename those if you want to make them better. But that is the Data Studio, and here's the actual server. This right here is a product called DBver, and you can find that on the internet. There is a community edition. It's really, really great for being able to browse data on different databases. I like to have that installed, and I might show you an example of how to connect to this database server from outside of the virtual guest, which I think is very useful. And then you've got, but then you've got the actual, and I believe this one right here, these are the programming libraries. We're not going to do that today. We might do that. We will do that later on. But let's go ahead and install the server. Now the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to right click and just say extract here. And there's the server, and you can see the progress right up here. So now it's done. So I'm going to go into that. I'm going to go to Server Deck, and there's all the installation programs. Now the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to right click, I'm going to say Open in Terminal, and I'm going to say sudo DB2 setup. Now there is a DB2_install, and what that is, that's a command line installation program. You can use that, but it's not as nice as the GUI. And this is something really different from the way Oracle does things. Almost everything in Oracle is command line based on getting everything installed. I don't like that, especially for the beginner. For the administrator that's doing it all the time, okay, command line is definitely advantageous. But for somebody who's just learning, the GUI is much better. So this is a GUI that's based on Eclipse. It's the IBM Installation Manager. I actually was part of this development. I wasn't really crazy about it, but this is what they've decided upon. So here we go. So IBM DB2 welcome. I'm going to click New Install. Now the resolution here is a little bit fuzzy because this is a virtual machine, so excuse that. So just pick the first one, DB2 version 11.5 Server Editions. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to go ahead and click agree, and I'm going to click typical, and then next. Now it's going to ask me for the password for the user ID DB2inst1. DB2inst1, that is the actual user ID that's going to be used to manage and run the database server. So just put something simple in there. I'm just going to put password, put it in twice, click next. DB2fence1, this is another user ID that's used for different purposes from within the DB2 server. Don't worry about it. I've actually never used the fence ID. All right, so it says it's going to install. That looks good. Don't have to click on anything else. Just go ahead and click finish. And then the installation will continue and it'll finish up. Now this takes a few minutes and just like Oracle's did, right? It took a few minutes. And so just go ahead and let it complete. All right, once the installation is done, that's it. Your DB2 server is up and running and you can actually use it. And let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and we're in the terminal right here. So I'm going to type switch user db2inst1. And the password is the password that you gave it. So now you're logged in as db2inst1, which is pretty cool. And I can actually just type db2 if I want. And I'm now in the db2 command line. Now there's nothing in here, so I'm going to quit out of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type db2 sample without the E. And what this is going to do is this is going to install a sample database for you. And as I said earlier, this is a lot easier than the Oracle method. I think that's pretty good. Now, one thing that actually kind of surprised me a little bit on this install, doing this with you, is that I didn't have to install a couple of things. There's the PAM i686 libraries that have to be installed. There's the libstdc++ i686 libraries. And I've got the commands up here on the screen right now. If you're on a version of Linux, like let's say CentOS, CentOS doesn't automatically have those installed, so you may have to do those before you do the installation. So go ahead and take those commands and do those if you were getting a prerequisite error check on your DB2 installation. All right, so we're right there. So we're actually, we finished that. So now let's go ahead and log back into DB2. And we're going to say connect to sample, because that's the name of the database that we just created with that db2 sample without the E command. And I'm going to say select asterisk from staff where department equals 20. And you can see the actual data that we've pulled out of the database. So your database server is set up and ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and quit out of this. And I'm going to create some firewall openings. And what this means is that I want to actually allow my firewall on Linux to be able to allow DB2 connections. And to do that, I just say sudo firewall command, and I'm going to say zone is equal to public, add port. Now you only have to do this once. And type in your password. Oh, I'm still in db2inst. Because db2inst1, that is not a sudo user ID. So I'm going to exit out and I'm going to type that command again. So now I'm no longer in db2inst1. I'm in my Linux user, which is an administrative user ID. So we're going to open up the 50,000 port, which is used by the DB2 text search. We're going to open up the TCP, and we're also going to open up the UDP. Then we're going to open up, I believe it's 25010, and we're going to do that with TCP as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say sudo firewall command reload. I'm going to say sudo firewall command list equals all. Oh, but I didn't type that in right. List dash all. I always do that for some reason. And you can see our ports have now been opened up here. So you should be able to log into this server from outside of the VMware guest. Now to do that, you have to take a look at the IP address that you would connect to, and I believe it's this one right here, but we'll take a look at that in a little while. All right, so that was the IBM DB2 server, and then we opened up the ports. Now let's go ahead and install the Data Studio. So it's this right here. Now I can delete, if I want to, I can delete the server at that point. It might make things a little bit easier on you to delete the server. And so I'm going to go ahead and right click on that and extract here. That's the IBM Data Studio 4140, and that opened up a folder, or that created a folder. And there's the agent installer. That is the installation manager installer. You have to install the installation program on your Linux before you, or Windows, this is the same way, before you can actually install the Data Studio. So I'm going to right click on the agent, and let me see, I'm just going to extract here. And I'm going to delete that so I don't have so many folders. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to extract the Data Studio. So I've got those two extracted. Now why did I do them both? Is because after I install the installation manager, this agent thing, and this is the most irritating thing I've ever seen. So even though after I've installed the installation manager, it's now going to say restart, and now you can install the Data Studio. So I'm going to go into the agent, and I'm going to right click on there. I'm going to say open in terminal, and let's make this a little wider. I'm going to ls, I'm going to say sudo install, /install. Now if you don't say sudo, it's going to come up and say error, you must be super user or root user to do this installation, so just do it. Okay, so everything is clicked for you. Go ahead and just click next. I'm going to accept it and click next. Just click next again, and then click install. And what this is doing is this is installing the installation program for your Data Studio installation. I know it's weird. So I'm going to restart the installation manager. And here's where it becomes critical as to why you unzipped the actual Data Studio installation, is because with the installation manager installed, you have to tell it what do you want to install. So I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to say Preferences. I'm going to go over here to Add Repository, and then I'm going to browse to where I installed that, or where I unzipped it. So I'm going to go to Other Locations. I'm going to go to Computer. I'm going to go to Home. The user ID where I unzipped it was Linux user. Oh, wrong one. Linux user. I'm going to go to Downloads. There's my DB2. There's my Data Studio folder. And this is the agent. That's the installer we just installed on. Now we want to go into this folder, and we want to double click on repository.config. Click OK. Click Apply, and then OK, and then click Install. Go ahead and click the IBM Data Studio, click Next. I accept the license, click Next, 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 unless you want to change the language. Then it's going to do some work, it's going to take a look at things, click Next, and then click Install. And that, it says pause download, but I don't think it's downloading anything. I think it's installing everything from the zip file. So go ahead and let that finish. Now while that's finishing, I also have this thing, this dbeaver, and while it's finishing, let's go take a look at where you can find that. So I'm just going to, now we did this in the Oracle, connecting to the Oracle database, but if you didn't watch that video, I'm just going to type dbeaver download. And this is really a great tool. I used to use a thing called DB Visualizer, but they started increasing their prices and all that. You can buy dbeaver Pro, or you can download the Community Edition. It's for Windows, Mac, Linux. In this case, since we're on a Red Hat operating system, which is Oracle or CentOS or Red Hat Linux, or even Fedora, you would download the RPM. If you were on Ubuntu or something like that, you could download the Debian. And then also we've got the different OS, Windows and Mac OS. So go ahead and download that, and then you can install it. And there's your you're all finished. Okay, so then once you're finished, go ahead and close the installation manager. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect to the DB2 server using Data Studio. All right, so let's go ahead and connect using Data Studio. I'm going to install dbeaver as well, so I'm going to open with software install. I'm going to go ahead and install that while we get Data Studio going. All right, so I don't think I need any more of these windows open, so I'm going to go ahead and close these. I'm going to go up to Activities, and I'm going to type Data, and there's my Data Studio. Oh, there's my dbeaver too. So I click on Data Studio. Now, Data Studio is based on Eclipse, the integrated development environment in Eclipse, which is why I'm such a big Eclipse user, because it's a very common platform and it's very good to, you can even do product deployment with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just launch. You could have clicked remember this location, and in this case that wouldn't be a bad idea. All right, so right now this is the Eclipse workspace, and there's really nothing here. So right here is a little icon. It kind of looks like a wire with a plus. That's the connection icon. I'm going to click on that, and it asks me what would I like to connect to. Well, I want to connect to, we can even connect to MySQL. We could even connect to Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server. This is kind of a neat tool because it lets me connect to multiple data sources. But for right now, we're just going to connect to DB2 for Linux. These other ones are for mainframe computers. So we're just going to click on that one. We're going to leave sample as the database, localhost is the user ID. What we're going to do here is we're going to change the port to 25010. Now, where did I get that? After DB2 was installed, you should have gotten a summary that would actually show you what the ports were. And 55,000 was the text search port, 2501 is the database server port. So that's why we put that in there. And I'm just going to, under username, I'm going to put db2inst1. Very important that you use that ID. Password, I'm just going to put in the password that I assigned, which is basically just password. And then I click on the save password. Now I'm going to click test connection, and it should say whether or not the connection was successful. It was. Now I'm going to say next, next, and finish. And now the user interface of this has some little caveats in it. I'm going to collapse all databases and reopen it, and then open localhost. And there's my db2inst1 instance. I'm going to expand that. There's my sample database, and there's my tables. So those are all the tables inside of the sample database. Now there's a lot of them in here that are actually support tables as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on employee, and I'm going to right click on that. You can only click on it once. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say data, browse data, and now we can see actual data inside the employee table. Pretty cool. So that's it. So your DB2 is set up, it's up and running. You've actually opened up your data port, your firewall ports for accessing data. And let's do that next. Let's actually go outside of the Oracle. I'm on a Mac, just like I was on Oracle installation. Let's go outside of the Oracle Linux. Let's go ahead and hook up with DataBeaver or dbeaver into this Oracle. All right, so let me explain what I've got going on here. You're looking at my one of my screens on my Mac Pro. So I'm using Mac OS, and I downloaded dbeaver, which from the URL that I showed you a little while ago. And this is a Mac program. You can tell by the close and minimize and maximize buttons. So this is a Mac program. Here is my Oracle Linux, which is where we installed DB2. And I actually have the DB2 SQL Studio there. So there's one thing that we have to do first. We have to find out what the IP address is for our Oracle. And the way that you do that is I'm going to go to Activities, and I already have, and I already did it right here. So that command is called ifconfig. So all you have to do is just say ifconfig. My mouse is a little bit off here. Just say ifconfig, and we're looking for an IP address. Here's an IP address right here, 172.1663.143. Let's try that first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and click the plus, the little plug with the plus, and I'm going to go to DB2 for LUW. DB2 for LUW means DB2 for Linux, Unix, or Windows. So I'm going to click on that and click Next. Now it's going to ask me for the host, so I'm going to type in that IP address you see over there on the left. I'm going to say this: the database is sample, the username is db2inst1, the password is password. We have to make sure the port is 25010. Now I'm going to click test connection, and because I've never connected to a DB2 server on this dbeaver before, it asked me, do I want to download the driver, the connection document, and you can see right there it's connected. It took 8,365 milliseconds to do that. I'm going to click OK, finish, and now you can see sample. Now if you want to change that name, I'm going to right click on it, say edit connection, I'm going to go to general, and I'm going to say DB2 Oracle 8 Linux sample database, just so it's a little bit more user friendly. I'm going to expand it. I'm going to expand schemas, DB2inst1, tables. Here's my employee table. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say, where is the view data? I think if I just double click on it, I can actually just click on this data tab, and there's the data. So I am on a completely different computer. I could be, but I'm actually on a different IP address computer, and it is actually connected into my Oracle. Now I could actually minimize that Oracle, never touch it again, unless I'm going to like update DB2 or whatever, and I could do everything from the remote computer. That is pretty cool. So that's the video today of how to get DB2 installed. Now remember, IBM is the company that invented relational database management systems. DB2 has a lot of years. It's really stable. It's a really good product. I'm not 100% crazy about IBM as a company anymore, which is one of the reasons why I retired from it. But DB2 is a great product. It's easier to set up. It's easier to configure than Oracle is. That's arguable. I'm not going to deny that. But I really like DB2. I think you should know both. You should know DB2 Oracle. Also, you should know Microsoft SQL Server. I might be creating some videos on that, but you should also use MySQL. You should know PostgreSQL, even MongoDB, which I've been getting requests to have some videos on that, and I think I'm going to do that for you guys. But until the next video, see ya.